The chill of the Montana evening seeped through the glass, but it was the icy dread clutching my gut that truly froze me. 7 p.m. The grandfather clock in the hall chimed its deep, resonant warning. 7 chimes, each a hammer blow against the fragile shell of my present, cracking it open to reveal the horrific future I'd already lived. My breath hitched, a silent, desperate gasp against the memory of splintered wood, acrid smoke, and the screams. Always the screams. But this time, they wouldn't come. Not tonight. My fingers, once soft and uncertain, now felt like steel, tracing the familiar grain of the antique mahogany table. The scent of Eleanor's pot roast, rich and comforting, wafted from the kitchen, a cruel mockery of the peace it once promised. This was the moment, the exact, agonizing second my past self, naive and oblivious, had been laughing at some silly joke Jamie had made. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I was a phantom, a whisper from a future that should never exist, reborn into a body that remembered every scar, every lesson, every kill. "Cassidy, darling, are you going to join us?" Eleanor's voice, warm as a summer breeze, drifted in. "Dinner's getting cold." My gaze flickered to the antique silver locket around my neck, a gift from Marcus. It felt impossibly heavy, a talisman against the encroaching darkness. I closed my eyes, the lodge's layout springing to life behind my lids. The creaking floorboards of the master suite, the narrow vent shafts leading to the basement, the hidden panel behind the study's bookshelf. Every detail, every potential advantage, meticulously etched into my reborn mind. "Just a minute, Mom," I called back, my voice a little too steady, a little too hollow. "Just finishing something up." I turned, my reflection in the darkened window showing not a 19-year-old girl, but a ghost with eyes that had seen too much. The 5-hour clock began its relentless count. First, the family. They were my assets, my precious, vulnerable cargo. I moved into the kitchen, a practiced smile plastered on my face. Marcus was carving the roast, his brow furrowed in concentration. Eleanor was setting out the mashed potatoes, steam curling around her kind face. Paige, my sister, was trying to spoon-feed a giggling Lily, while Maya, the older niece, recounted some fantastical story to Jamie, whose eyes, even at 12, already held a spark of his father's sharp intellect. "Who wants some of my special chamomile tea?" I asked, holding up a small, ornate bottle. "It's super relaxing." "Dad, you look stressed." Marcus grunted, a sound of mild amusement. "Stressed? Your mother's cooking cures all ailments, Cass." "But this tea, it's a secret recipe," I insisted, my voice light, playful. "Aunt Alara gave it to me. Said it helps with nightmares." Eleanor paused, her gaze softening. "Oh, darling, have you been having bad dreams?" I forced a wistful sigh. "A few. Nothing too terrible, but I thought it might help everyone sleep soundly tonight. Big day tomorrow, right?" "Right," Jamie piped up, already reaching for his glass. "We're building the new treehouse." "Exactly," I affirmed, my heart clenching. A treehouse they would never build if I failed. One by one, I poured the tea, each cup receiving a precise, almost imperceptible drop from the small bottle. The sedatives weren't strong enough to knock them out instantly, but they would induce a deep, dreamless sleep within an hour, making them pliable, easy to guide. I watched them drink, a knot of guilt tightening in my chest. This deception, this betrayal of their trust, was a necessary evil. They would hate me for it, if they ever knew, but they would live. An hour later, the lodge grew quiet. Paige slumped against the table, her head lolling. Eleanor's gentle snores filled the air, Marcus's deeper rumble joining them. Lily and Maya were already fast asleep, their small faces peaceful. Jamie, ever the most resistant, fought it for a few more minutes, his eyelids fluttering. "Cass, I'm really tired," he mumbled, his voice thick. "I know, buddy," I whispered, stroking his hair. "Just rest. Everything's going to be okay." His eyes closed, his breathing evening out. The silence that followed was profound, broken only by the crackle of the dying fire and the rhythmic times, thump-thump times of my own heart against my ribs. Now, the hard part. I moved with an efficiency born of repeated, brutal training. First, I secured Jamie. He was the key. I lifted his surprisingly heavy frame, slung him over my shoulder, and headed for Marcus's study. The hidden panel behind the bookshelf, disguised as a section of rare first editions, swung open with a barely audible hiss times when I pressed the right sequence of spines. A narrow, utilitarian tunnel, barely wide enough for one person, stretched into the darkness. "Wake up, Jamie," I whispered, nudging him. "Just for a second. I need you." His eyes fluttered open, still glazed with the sedative. "Where? What?" "Citadel," I stated, pulling him into the tunnel. "You know the drill. Dad's security protocols. I need you to monitor the perimeter. No questions, just do it." The mention of the Citadel, their family's doomsday bunker, and the security protocols, a game Marcus had drilled into them since childhood, seemed to snap a small part of his mind awake. He nodded, his face pale, but a spark of understanding in his eyes. He was a smart kid. He'd figure it out, or at least follow orders. "Go to the comms station," I instructed, pushing him gently forward. "Wait for my signal. Don't open the door for anyone, not even me, unless I give the code word. Got it?" "Got it," he mumbled, already stumbling down the short incline, the heavy blast door at the end of the tunnel looming. I returned for the others, a grim determination setting my jaw. Marcus first, then Eleanor, then Paige, then the two small girls. It was a brutal, physically demanding task, hauling their dead weight through the narrow tunnel, but my body, honed by years of combat, barely registered the strain. Each trip was a race against the clock, against the unseen forces already closing in. Finally, the last one, Maya, was safely inside. I watched as the massive blast door, a marvel of reinforced steel and composite alloys, slid shut with a deep, resonant times clunk asterisk, sealing them away. They were safe. For now. I stood in the now empty tunnel, the silence pressing in. The air felt colder, sharper. I was alone. Back in Marcus's study, the hidden armory lay exposed. My father, a man of quiet strength and meticulous preparation, had always been ready for anything. I stripped off my comfortable clothes, revealing the lean, corded muscle beneath. I pulled on the tactical gear, a form-fitting dark gray suit woven with Kevlar and ceramic plates, designed for stealth and protection. Holsters for my sidearms, sheaths for my knives, pouches for my custom-made explosives. Each piece clicked into place, a familiar weight, a second skin. I selected my weapons with practiced ease, a silenced P-226 for close quarters, a modified AR-15 for longer engagements, its scope already zeroed. My father's study, once a sanctuary of leather-bound books and hushed conversations, transformed into my command center. My fingers flew across a concealed keypad, bringing up the lodge's schematics on a holographic display. The cleaners would be here soon. 10 of them. Special forces. Highly trained. Utterly ruthless. They wouldn't just breach. They'd dismantle. But not tonight. Tonight, the lodge was a spider web, and I was the spider. First, power. I accessed the lodge's electrical grid, isolating key sections. The main living area, the kitchen, the long entry hallway. These would be my killing fields. Lights would flicker, then die, plunging them into disorienting darkness at my command. 2. Next, traps. I moved through the lodge like a ghost, my movements silent, fluid. Tripwires, almost invisible, crisscrossed the entry hall, rigged to release high-frequency sonic emitters, designed to disorient and deafen. Pressure plates under strategically placed rugs would trigger blinding flashbangs. The heavy, ornate chandelier in the living room, a family heirloom, became a potential weapon, its suspension cables prepped to sever with a remote trigger. I rigged explosive charges, non-lethal, designed to incapacitate, not kill, at key choke points, the narrow staircase, the kitchen doorway, the entrance to the master bedroom. Each charge was small, precise, loaded with rubber pellets and tear gas. My goal wasn't to murder them, but to break their formation, to sow chaos, to make them vulnerable. The ventilation system. A perfect network for delivering gas. I installed a series of canisters, pre-filled with a potent, fast-acting sedative. A silent, invisible weapon. My comms link with Jamie was essential. I tapped a small device behind my ear, a tiny, almost invisible microphone and receiver. "Jamie? You there?" I whispered, my voice barely a breath. A moment of static. Then his voice, surprisingly clear, though still slurred with sleep. "Cass, I'm here! Citadel comms online, perimeter sensors—" Flickering. "Good. Stay sharp. I need you to monitor the external sensors. Tell me everything. Movement, heat signatures, anything unusual." 10. "Okay. The blast door? It's sealed, right?" His voice held a tremor of fear, the sedative wearing off just enough for terror to seep in. "Sealed tight, Jamie. No one's getting in. You're safe. Just focus on the screens." I heard the times click-word times of the Citadel's internal systems powering up. My little brother. My reluctant eyes and ears. He would be terrified. Alone in that bunker. But he was strong. He had to be. The first sign of their arrival was a distant, almost imperceptible times thump asterisk. Not a natural sound. It was the soft impact of a boot on the forest floor, far beyond the lodge's immediate perimeter. "Jamie, give me a read on the northeast sector. Anything?" "Movement. Multiple heat signatures. 10 of them, Cass. Fast moving. They're splitting up." His voice was sharper now, the fear giving way to a nascent focus. "As expected," I murmured, moving to a darkened window. My R-15 held ready. I watched the dense tree line, the shadows within its depths, shifting, deepening. They were good. Too good. A faint whistle times cut through the night air, a signal. They were closing in. I cut the power to the external lights, plunging the lodge's immediate surroundings into total darkness. The only illumination came from the sliver of moonlight struggling to penetrate the thick canopy. The first breach came not through a door, but a window. A silent times, shatter times from the west wing. A ghost of a sound. Then another. They were entering simultaneously, methodically. "They're inside, Cass." Jamie's voice crackled. "West wing, 2 contacts. North, 3. Main entrance, 5. I moved. A shadow among shadows. The entry hall. My main gauntlet. A faint times click asterisk. Someone had stepped on a tripwire. The sonic emitters screamed to life, a high-pitched, disorienting wail that ripped through the air, vibrating in my teeth. I clamped my hands over my ears, even though I knew the frequency wouldn't affect me as severely. "Ah! What the—" A muffled shout from the entry hall. Flashbangs detonated, momentarily turning the darkness into blinding white. I heard men curse, their movements becoming erratic. This was my moment. I activated the ventilation system, releasing the sedative gas into the entry hall. "Jamie, give me a visual on the entry hall. Are they down?" 3 of them. Collapsing. 2 more. Coughing, disoriented. They're trying to move back. I didn't wait. I moved, my AR-15 sweeping the darkened hall. The gas was doing its work. 2 figures stumbled, their movements sluggish. I fired, not at their heads, but at their legs, their arms. 3 shots. 3 non-lethal hits. 1 dropped like a stone, clutching his knee. Another staggered, a dark stain blossoming on his shoulder. A voice, calm and cold, cut through the comms of the cleaners. "Report. What is happening?" Zeus, the handler. His voice, a low rumble, sent a shiver down my spine. The man who had orchestrated my family's demise. "We're under attack, sir. Sonic emitters, flashbangs, some kind of gas. Reynolds is in play." "Reynolds? The girl? Impossible. She's a civilian." Zeus's voice held a flicker of disbelief, quickly replaced by steel. "Contain her. Do not let her escape. Locate the asset. And neutralize the source of the resistance." I grinned in the darkness. a feral, humorless baring of teeth. Oh, I was no civilian, not anymore. I retreated, melting back into the shadows of the living room. The remaining cleaners, now cautious, moved with slow, deliberate steps, their night vision goggles cutting through the gloom. They were adapting. Jamie, where's Zeus? He's not with them, Cass. He's outside, southwest perimeter, holding back. He's got a comms jammer active, but I'm cutting through it. Of course. Zeus wouldn't risk himself until his operatives had cleared the path. Coward. My eyes scanned the living room, my gaze settling on the massive fireplace. A perfect ambush point. I waited, my breath shallow, my heart a drumbeat against my ribs. 2 cleaners entered the living room, their rifles sweeping the area. Their movements were synchronized, professional. They were looking for a person, not a series of traps. I triggered the chandelier. A loud crack as the cables snapped, followed by a deafening crash as the heavy crystal fixture plummeted, narrowly missing one of them. The other, startled, spun around, his rifle barrel sweeping wildly. 2, I sprang from behind the fireplace, a blur of motion. My silenced P-226 spat fire. 2 shots, center mass, aimed at their plate carriers. Not to kill, but to stun, to drop them. The impact sent them reeling, their bodies slamming against the antique furniture. They lay groaning, winded, their lungs struggling for air. 5 down, Cass, Jamie reported, a note of triumph in his voice. 5 more. They're regrouping. Good. Now for the power. Jamie, cut the main grid. Total blackout. The lodge plunged into absolute, impenetrable darkness. Even their night vision goggles would struggle with the sudden, complete absence of light. This was my domain. I moved through the darkness, relying on muscle memory, on the layout burned into my mind. The lodge became a labyrinth. Every shadow a potential hiding place, every creak of the floorboards a deliberate misdirection. Zeus is moving, Cass. He's entering the lodge now, main entrance. He's got 2 operatives with him. The handler was finally making his move. Excellent. I made my way to the kitchen, a narrow, cramped space. Another choke point. I activated the explosive charges I'd placed earlier, aimed at the doorway. A thump, thump, thump of heavy boots approached. 3 figures, their forms barely visible in the absolute darkness. Zeus was in the lead, his posture radiating lethal confidence. "Clear the kitchen," Zeus commanded, his voice a low growl. "The asset is likely in a secure location. She's stalling." "You're right about one thing," I whispered to myself. "I'm stalling." As the first cleaner stepped through the kitchen doorway, I hit the trigger. The charge detonated. A deafening crack followed by a cloud of tear gas and rubber pellets. The cleaner shrieked, stumbling back, clutching his eyes. The other 2, including Zeus, were momentarily disoriented, coughing. I burst out of the pantry. My knife, a silver flash in the gloom. I didn't aim to kill, but to disable. One swift movement, a precise cut across the hamstrings of the closest cleaner. He cried out, collapsing. Another, I disarmed, with a brutal elbow strike to his wrist, the rifle clattering to the floor. Then Zeus. He was faster, stronger than I anticipated. He reacted instantly, blocking my knife with a forearm, his other hand reaching for a concealed weapon. His eyes, even in the faint light, held a cold, predatory glint. "Clever girl," he sneered, his grip like iron. But not clever enough. He lunged, a blur of motion, his fist aiming for my head. I ducked, spinning, my knife coming around in a defensive arc. We danced in the darkness, a silent, deadly ballet. He was a master of close-quarters combat, his movements economical, brutal. But I had a lifetime of future training, of fighting for survival against impossible odds. I parried his strikes, my knife a blur. I aimed for pressure points, for tendons, for anything that would incapacitate without killing. He grunted, a small cut appearing on his cheek. He was surprised. "Good. Who are you?" he demanded, his voice strained. "You're not Reynolds." "I'm exactly who you think I am," I retorted, my voice low, laced with venom. "And you're about to regret ever stepping foot in this lodge." I feigned a lunge, then dropped, sweeping his legs out from under him. He hit the floor with a grunt, momentarily stunned. I pressed my advantage, straddling him, my knife at his throat. "Where is it?" I demanded, pressing the cold steel against his jugular. "The tag! Where did you hide it?" His eyes widened, a flicker of genuine surprise. "How? How do you know about that?" "I know everything," I hissed. "Now tell me, or I'll make sure you never speak again." He chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. "You won't kill me. You're not a killer." "Don't test me, Zeus," I whispered, pressing the blade deeper, a thin line of blood appearing on his skin. "I've done things you can't even imagine." He held my gaze, his eyes still defiant, but a hint of fear now mingled with the surprise. "It's not on me. It's with my primary operative, the one who breached the north window." "Jamie, confirm," I barked into my comms. "North window breach. Is there an operative with a metal tag? Small, encrypted." A moment of silence, then Jamie's voice, breathless. "Yes, Cass, I see it. He's trying to access the master bedroom safe. He's got it. He's trying to put it in a device." Two panic flared. The tag, the MacGuffin, the secret that had cost my family their lives. "Zeus, if that tag is compromised, I will end you," I snarled, pressing the knife harder. "It's already too late?" he gasped, a triumphant gleam in his eyes. "My operative is uploading the data. Your family's secret. It's gone." Two rage, pure and unadulterated, surged through me. My hand trembled, the knife digging deeper. This was it. The moment of decision. Kill him or save the tag. "Jamie, can you disable his device? Override it? Anything?" I don't know, Cass. It's military grade. But maybe if I overload the local network." "Do it!" I screamed, my voice raw. "Blow it all to hell if you have to." I pulled back from Zeus, a new plan forming. The tag was still the priority. Zeus could wait. I raced towards the master bedroom, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm. The lodge was a war zone, scattered with incapacitated cleaners, shattered glass, and the lingering scent of tear gas. I burst into the master bedroom. A lone figure, hunched over Marcus's hidden safe, a small device blinking furiously in his hands. He looked up, startled, his eyes wide behind his night vision goggles. "Drop it!" I commanded, my AR-15 leveled at his chest. He hesitated for a fraction of a second, then lunged, throwing the device towards the window, aiming to destroy it. My shot was instantaneous. Crack! The operative stumbled, clutching his shoulder, the device clattering to the floor. I dove for it, snatching it up just as Jamie's voice screamed in my ear. "Cass! Incoming! They're trying to breach the Citadel!" Two. My blood ran cold. The Citadel. My family. I glanced at the device in my hand. The upload progress bar was at 98%. Almost done. Almost too late. "Jamie, what's happening?" They found the tunnel. They're using explosives. The blast door. It's taking damage." His voice was laced with terror. My focus snapped back to the operative. He was groaning, trying to reach for a sidearm. I kicked it away, then leveled my rifle at his head. "The tag. Is it still secure?" I demanded, my voice tight with desperation. He just stared at me, defiant. I pressed the barrel against his temple. "Tell me. Now." He swallowed hard. "It's encrypted. Can't be accessed without a key. Zeus has it." My mind raced. "The key. Zeus." I turned and ran, leaving the operative bleeding on the floor. I had to get back to Zeus. I found him in the kitchen, slowly picking himself up, his eyes now blazing with a cold fury. He saw me, and his lips curled into a snarl. "You won't stop me, girl. The mission will be completed." Two. "Not tonight," I snarled back. "Not ever." We clashed again, a whirlwind of fists and blades. He was stronger, but I was faster, more agile, fueled by a primal need to protect. I aimed for his joints, his nerves, anything to disable him. He grunted, a bone-jarring kick to my side, sending me sprawling. I rolled, coming up with my knife. He pulled a small, ornate key from a hidden pouch on his belt. It was a data key, not a physical one. He held it up, a cruel smile on his face. "This is it, girl. The key to your family's destruction." He made to snap it. "No!" I screamed, a guttural sound torn from my throat. I threw my knife, not at him, but at his hand. It spun through the air, a silver blur, and embedded itself in the back of his hand, severing tendons, causing him to cry out in agony. The key clattered to the floor. I dove, snatching it up, just as a massive boom reverberated through the lodge, shaking the very foundations. "The blast door, Cass, it's breached!" Jamie's voice was a frantic shriek. My heart seized. No, not now. Not when I was so close. I looked at Zeus, writhing on the floor, clutching his mangled hand. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with hatred, but also a dawning realization. He had underestimated me. "It's over, Zeus," I said, my voice trembling with exhaustion and triumph. "You failed." I crushed the data key under my heel, grinding it into dust. The MacGuffin was safe. The secret was secure. But the Citadel, my family. I raced towards the study, towards the hidden tunnel, my legs burning. The air was thick with dust and the acrid smell of explosives. I could hear shouting, the crack of gunfire from below. I burst into the tunnel, my AR-15 sweeping. 2 cleaners were already inside, trying to force open the inner door to the Citadel. Jamie's terrified face flashed on a small monitor nearby. They turned, their rifles raised. I didn't hesitate. My rifle barked. 4 shots. 2 cleaners collapsed, their bodies riddled with rubber pellets, incapacitated. I ran to the inner door, slamming my palm against the emergency override. The heavy door, already dented and scarred, hissed open. My family. They were awake, huddled together, their faces pale with fear. Jamie, tears streaming down his face, looked up at me. "Cass." They were trying to get in. I dropped my rifle, pulling him into a fierce hug. "It's okay, Jamie. It's over. They're gone." "How?" Eleanor, Marcus, Paige, Lily, Maya. They stared at me, their eyes wide with confusion, fear, and a dawning understanding of the battle that had raged above them. They saw my tactical gear, the bloodstains, the exhaustion etched on my face. "Cassidy, what happened?" Marcus asked, his voice rough. I looked at them, my family, safe and alive. The future I had prevented. The cost had been everything, but it was worth it. "It's a long story, Dad," I said, a faint, weary smile touching my lips. "But everyone's safe, and we're never going to talk about it again." My eyes met Jamie's. He nodded, a silent promise. He knew. The lodge above was a ruin, a testament to the battle I had fought. But down here, in the cold, sterile confines of the Citadel, my family was whole. And as I sank to the floor, the adrenaline draining from my body, I knew that even though the scars of my past life would forever mark me, I had won. I had redeemed myself, and my family would live.